Okay, I'm going to try and say this without sounding like a complete full of himself prick, because I'm not. I'm just trying to point out some historic realities here. There's been a lot of back and forth, bickering about who invented the red pill. More to the point, also, there's a lot of bickering back and forth about what the red pill is. So I thought I would show you where it came from, because I had one guy on Reddit be all skeptical when I told him exactly what happened. So he demanded proof, and I thought, well, you know what, he's probably not wrong to do that, but at the same time it's going to be a little bit annoying to do it for all people. So I'm going to do this video here where I'm going to show you and tell you about it. You can tell me if I'm full of shit, but from where I'm sitting right now and from what I remember back in these days that I'm about to talk about, this is exactly how it went down. Quite a few years ago, there was really not a whole lot of cohesion between what you would call today the Manosphere. It was sort of the MRA blogs, the MGTOW blogs, and the PUA blogs. And really there wasn't a whole lot of mixture between them. There were a lot of people that bounced back and forth, but there wasn't a lot of intellectual cross-pollination. So myself and a few other people, seeing value in maintaining the knowledge of all these facets and understanding them all because they all fit together like pieces in a puzzle, began to encourage the cross-pollination of these different websites. Now, one of the things that I did personally was I created a magazine type format PDF. And the idea behind it was, the reason why I did it initially was actually because I wanted to bring up sort of the intellectual discourse in these articles, because a lot of these guys had really great ideas, but they were expressing them in less than professional manners, and it was difficult to actually read them without kind of thinking to yourself, this guy's got an axe to grind and an agenda, and it's all bullshit. And it wasn't. So the idea, again, was to improve everybody's reading, or writing. Too much beer, I guess. So I created a thing called MRM Magazine. The very, very first one was called the Anti-Feminist issue, and that was an exercise in absolutely dreadful design. Slightly less dreadful, but still dreadful, was MRM issue 2. It's right here. There's the cover. Okay. Now, in this issue, the very first article on page 3 is an article called "Game is the Red Pill" by Hawaiian Libertarian. I'm going to read, say, the first paragraph of this particular article. Now that it appears the debate between the PUA / pickup artist, MGTOW, men going their own way, MRA, men's rights activist, blogosphere about game and its relevance and morality has cooled down a bit, I would like to reiterate the one point I believe is most relevant for why all men should take an effort to understand game without trying to marginalize it or write it off as completely erroneous, simply because you object to the morality espoused by the PUA, or that you think game is a silly, manipulative script that men follow simply to get laid. To use the Matrix allegory, game is the red pill. That is the point of that article. That was in October-ish of 2009. That is what the red pill is. No more, no less. It is just simply the ability to parse what is happening in the world around you because you are accepting of truth as opposed to what you have been told. That's really the red pill. Once you get beyond that, you're back into sort of nuances and all the rest of that, and then you get all these little ideologies and sects among the manosphere, right? I mean, all these people that have these, they're the true answer. They have the true ideology. This is no different at all from religion, team sports, anything else. I mean, if you have people that are set up and they've decided that their way of believing is the right way to believe, they're going to believe that no matter what, usually. But that is where the game is the red pill allegory came from. That article right there. It's still available. It's still up on Hawaiian Libertarian's blogspot. Blog. His name, by the way, his other pseudonym is Keone Galt. Now, while we're on the subject, 3 issues after that, so in issue 5, which would put it in probably January of 2010-ish, this rather fetching cover came up. And in this particular article, or magazine, collection of blog posts that I put together into a magazine format, there is an article by a guy named Obsidian, otherwise known as Mumia Ali, who currently writes for AVFM, and hopefully he's going to write for I'm going to do a replacement to these, and hopefully he's going to write for that as well. An article called A Quick Primer on the Sexual Marketplace. Now, that particular article, which was written, like I said, back in, I think, about early 2010, right there is, as far as I can tell, at least among the articles that I have published in this magazine, which were being published, keep in mind, along with the formation of the Manosphere, this is the first mention of the Manosphere by name that I can find within these pages. And this article, this magazine was being done, it was being created while the Manosphere was being created. So, and it's basically a collection of sort of the most read or the most provocative, thought-provoking, sort of well put together blog posts of that time. So I would assume that if the term Manosphere existed before that, it wasn't much prior to that, because terms like that would either be picked up or killed almost instantly at this particular time. There weren't that many people involved. We're talking maybe 20, 30,000 on the outside, and as far as the people that were actually doing stuff, I'd say maybe a dozen, right? So, in that sense, the red pill was actually invented by Keone Galt. Now, does Roosh V have a point when he says that his blog formed the core of what became the red pill? Absolutely, he does. He's absolutely right. In fact, I can tell you from memory, and maybe guys like Paul or John or Ringo, that joke's getting old, I gotta stop doing it. If anybody can correct me, great. But if I remember correctly at this time, the understanding of game and the understanding of male-female relations and the understanding of women in general, male and female sexuality, was actually absorbed from the PUA community into the MRA and the MGTOW community. And that is where things like hypergamy as a concept understood throughout the Manosphere came from. MRAs did not come up with this on our own. MGTOW did not come up with it on our own. Okay? None of this stuff happened without the mixing of the 3 people. And I'm not saying that it was me, I'm saying I was one of several people that encouraged that. It was deliberate. It was done for a very good reason. And it's a reason that I think that needs to continue. So while I know that everybody is all pissed off and pointing fingers, I know that AVFM sort of attacked MGTOW a while back, and MGTOW shot back, and Stardust and Razorblade Candy and John the Other are attacking Karen Strawn and this. But you know what? What's really going on here, guys, is that people are refusing to hear what they don't want to hear. I can't find any other explanation for it. I mean, my understanding of the Manosphere in general, my understanding of the men's movement and the red pill is that you accept truth for what it is and deal with the consequences rather than reject them. When I watch MRAs, and this is something that is MRA-wide, actually, when I watch MRAs soundly reject something like game, while blatantly showing they absolutely know nothing about it. I mean, it's sort of like listening to a feminist describe an MRA and rejecting them, okay? That exact same level of understanding of what game is being used to reject the entire concept, and really actually just being used to excuse that person from having to learn these hard truths, which is really what it is. That's just another form of denialism. And the red pill, the whole idea of the Manosphere is you deal with reality as it is dealt to you. You don't deny reality, you deal with it. Now, if you were to go read a bunch of stuff on game, read a bunch of stuff in the red pill Reddit, even though those guys are generally just as fucking useless as most others in terms of trying to figure out what's actually going on, at least there's going to be some links to stuff. I'll tell you what, screw it. I'll just tell you exactly who I would suggest you go and read. I would suggest you read Vox Day. I would suggest that you go read Rollo Tomasi. I suggest that you read Dalrock. I suggest that you read Athol K. I suggest that you read Australian Conservative, Aussie Conservative. I suggest that you read Hawaiian Libertarian. I suggest that you read Paul Elam. I suggest that you read Obsidian. I suggest that you read Karen Strawn and Typhon Bloom. I suggest that you read everything. I don't see a legitimate reason to refuse to learn something new. And even if you learn something and reject the premise because you find it wanting, at least you have explored it and decided whether or not for yourself, rather than taking somebody else's opinion. You have made your own decision. That is the essence of MGTOW. It's got fuck all to do with whether or not you are married. It is, do you make your own decisions free of the influence of those around you? Are you peer pressured into acting a certain way or not? That's MGTOW. I find it really funny how many MGTOW refuse to even look into game based on that. So, are there a ton of hypocrisies and inconsistencies throughout the Manosphere? Absolutely. I could point fingers at everybody, including Factory, that fucking asshole. So full of himself. I could do that about anybody. I'm not here to criticize. I'm here to point something out and to say, hey, listen, open your fucking eyes. Stop acting like a goddamn kid. Learn something and at least have the fucking nuts to give something a thought rather than rejecting it out of hand. The one thing, the one criteria that if I could put a criteria in that said, if this criteria is met, this person is summarily ejected from the Manosphere, never called an MRA, MGTOW, PUA, or anything like that ever again, and treated as a pariah. That one criteria would be this. If you suggest doing or not doing something because it will make you look bad, you are a fucking waste of skin and you should be tossed on your fucking ear. If you believe something, stand up for your beliefs. If you don't believe it, don't stand up for it. And heck, if you think that those beliefs that you're referring to at this point are offensive, then go ahead and attack them. This fear of looking bad is the cancer. It is the corruption. It is going to destroy any sort of forward motion that the Manosphere has made. It is entryism. It's ridiculous. I was talking with a rather involved MRA just about a week and a half ago. It was brought to my attention, and I didn't know this, that Alex Jones has asked MRAs in the past to come on and talk about the movement and has been rejected, apparently, for fear of looking bad. Alex Jones has a bigger audience than MSNBC, and, by the way, if you take a look at Paul Joseph Watson, obviously sympathetic to the message that the MRM and others are bringing forward. I am fucking incensed that people not only gave that advice, but people listened to that fucking advice. So, I would love for Alex Jones to talk to an MRA. I would love for that to happen. And I'll tell you what, Alex Jones, if you ever get hold of this video, I've been involved in the MRM right since the beginning. I can actually point to my posts on Glenn Sax's His Side blog going way back. I can point to places where I have been influential, and I can point to places where I have been around or understood what is happening with people that were influential. And I can describe the general manosphere as it existed and as it exists today. I am not a high-profile MRA or MGTOW. I'm not controversial. I don't have a big site, but I understand the issues and I understand the politics of what's going on to at least a certainly decent degree. And if I can, I would like to apologize first and foremost for being snubbed, if you felt that way in any way. I would like to, at this point, offer that if you really do need to have somebody to come on, give me a call, because I'll be more than happy to do it. I don't like being in the spotlight. Anybody who knows me has known that I've paid a very large price. I was the first MRA to use his face and real name online. And I paid a very large price for doing that. So I'm not eager to sign up for it, but I'll tell you right now, these issues are way too important to be ignored. And if somebody else won't stand up and do the right thing, then I will. So I'll lay that offer on the table. Thanks for sitting through this ridiculously long video that you probably aren't really all that interested in. I hope very much that people that know who I am, that know that where I'm coming from and why I am saying these things, and understand that I'm doing this for the good of what is happening right now. I'm trying to maybe put on some brakes before these mistakes that I see happening become gelled and cemented. I haven't been very involved in the last few years. I haven't been a high-profile guy. There's no reason why anybody should listen to me. I just really, really hope that you do.